Okay, hello again, everybody, and welcome to the theory portion of the fourth and the final class of the subtler dimensions of asana practice. So here we'll just recap everything that we've learned and tie some of these concepts with the mind. Okay, so to recap, we've been looking at first we started seeing what yoga is and what yoga is not. What is hatha yoga? Um, and we saw the origins of hatha yoga, the difference between Patanjalic system and hatha yoga system. Patanjala is more asana, sthira, sukham, but here you have the words, the body is like a decaying pot. Bake it with fire. Look at the intensity. So hatha yoga is an energizing practice. So you do all this to get the stillness of the mind, to deal with the prana. Prana is the life force. It's the breath is also part of prana. It flows in the body. It's the heat, the agni, when it's strong, it goes and makes your muscles malleable. Patabi Joyce would say, the reason you do all this is not for doing social media posts, but it is Nayam Atma Balahinena Labhyaha. The Atma cannot be found with a weak body. And Swami Paramatmananda, he will add that the innate tendency of human nature is laziness. So doing Hatha Yoga or asana practice, it makes the body dridam and energized. And we also saw it's all about prana. Prana is the one that helps us achieve prowess and poses. This they don't tell you. They'll say you do the back, come to workshops, do back bends, all that, but that is linear progress. We saw this morning, and saw the wrong image of yoga and yogi.
श्री भगवानुवाच असंशयं महाबाहो मनो दुर्निग्रहं चलम् अभ्यासेन तु कौन्तेय वैराग्येण च गृह्यते तपस्विभ्योऽधिको योगी ज्ञानिभ्योऽपि मतोऽधिकः कर्मिभ्यश्चाधिको योगी तस्माद्योगी भवार्जुन.
Okay, so the Kurmasana we saw, it's about drawing the senses inward. It's a very core component of yoga. Now, you'd say, how does all these tie with the asana practice? Slowly, as you start doing asana practice, it reflects different aspects of your life. This is what everybody says. People, great asana practitioners, you become very picky. I won't say picky, but particular about the diet because you feel it in the flow of prana. This is weight loss and all these things are side effects that come because it's not like you're giving up something. You're trading this pleasure which comes from these foods with this refined pleasure which comes from asana practice. This is how all the benefits happen because this refined pleasure, which they call hlada, that is it is so much more desirable because with foods, after you eat the food, you actually have pain. There is parinama, tapa, samskara, dukkha, tapa, dukkha, thirst, pain of thirst, because you need more of that. So it is not real pleasure, it gives happiness. Yata agre vishamava pariname amrutopam tatsukham satvikam prokam atma buddhya prasadajam. So what looks like very difficult at first, but finally it's like nectar. That is Satvik Sukham, Bhagavan says. So this is how asana practice slowly transforms your life because you will start getting this refined, your body becomes more and more refined. And that's how it helps. And advanced yoga and circus may look the same, But in yoga, you don't need to get perfection in poses. It is the mind, the stillness, stilling of the mind, and tuning into the inner self that is important. Okay, then end goal of everything we saw is liberation. So vasansi jivnani atavihaya navani krishnati naroparani. As just as we cast off old worn-out clothes, the dehi, the atma, it takes on new bodies. When this body is old, that's all the use of the body. So the end goal of all this is to get liberation from the cycle of births and deaths.
शनैः उपरमेति बुद्ध्या धृतिगृहीतया आत्मसंस्थं मनः कृत्वा न किञ्चिदपि चिन्तयेत्.
Okay, so somebody asked me how do you progress? So with what Bhagavan Krishna says, slowly, slowly it happens. And this it's by not paying attention to the final pose, but discovering all these feelings that come in the body. Okay, then we saw a lot about the text. The most important thing, we saw the Agni. Agni is the core. Agni, if there's Agni is weak, Ayurveda says diseases get propagate in the body. So we saw 3 types of Agnis: Vishama, which is intermittent, what Vata people suffer from; Tikshna, excessive; Pitta imbalance causes this; and Manda, which is Kapha imbalance. So the Ujjayi breath and the Bandhas, they stimulate the Agni in the body. And we saw the example of a bellow, blacksmith's bellow. This is how when you're doing asanas, you will, my body runs cold, I'm Vata, so it's difficult. Naturally, I'm stiff and everything. But at some point, the burner will pick up. And the most important thing is some people say, oh, if I heat the room to 90, something 80, 100 degrees, I can flex and bend. Yes, muscles become very flexible. You can bend, do a lot of things. But the mind feeling that you get when you use the bandhas and the body Agni is completely different. I've practiced in 85-degree rooms, and especially if there are 40 people in the room, it becomes hot. And in India, if you practice, it becomes very hot. Naturally, 90 something. And what I've felt is that even if the muscles are stretched, the mind state is different. It's only when you use the bandhas you will get those states of mind. So that is the difference. And you have to maintain Agni throughout the practice, which is why the constancy, you shouldn't cool off, drinking water, all those generally are not, of course, if you're thirsty and parched, you have to take care of the body. But generally, people don't drink water. So that the fire, you don't want to douse it. We saw 2 asanas that kindle the fire, Paschimottanasana and Mayurasana. And Swatmarama, being a marketing guru, he says Mayurasana destroys even the Kalakuta poison. This is the poison that is secreted by Vasuki, spitting when the Devas and Asuras churned the ocean, right? It was spitting poison because it was getting exhausted. And even that gets destroyed by Mayurasana. It's such a powerful asana. He calls it Sri Mayuram. It's like a Sri title. Mayurasana is a peacock pose. Then we saw the 3 bandhas, the gateway to the divine. We also saw what it means. It means bind. So there are external bandhas and the internal bandhas. So I showed with the example of Marichyasana, deep, where you fully bind your body, right? So the only way the prana goes is up. So that is bandha. You can do external means. We saw all the pada bandha, that is the internal 3 bandhas, Mula, Udyana, and Jalandhara. Mula bandha is considered the most important bandha. Ratmarama says you can even trick death with the Mula bandha. And in all the poses, the sense of slow motion that you see It is from the use of Mulabandha because it gives control. And the reason Mulabandha is very important is if you engage Mulabandha, you won't get into, I mean, you can still have accidents, but the tearing, all those things won't happen. That's one of the very important, especially when you're doing advanced asana practice. If you, without Mulabandha, you can't do it. You just cannot do it. And maybe very flexible people will do, but apparently flexible people are the ones who get injured the most, is what I heard. Because they go beyond because they're flexible, and then something will tear because they have no control. Then we talked about Kundalini, importance of the bandhas. Shankaracharya says it is to awaken Kundalini, and Mula Bandha is the perineal floor upliftment. What helps engage Mula Bandha is a light diet, internal temperature, the Agni, and an empty stomach and a clean colon for prana to rise. Diet is the throughout our scriptures, we saw this Narada Krishna example. Throughout the scriptures, Mita Hita Aha. This is the most. So, if you want to do all these advanced poses, this is where we start the diet. And you're not, like as I said, you're not sacrificing something. You're trading one pleasure with another pleasure source. The Buddha was very smart. That's why he taught the jhanas, which is the highest 4 successive states of meditation. You get so absorbed, first you get joy. Then it becomes intense joy and rapture. After that, everything you come down into a very quiet state. It's called equanimity. So this people, a lot of people, they get those who especially take drugs and all this. They want an alternate way. So there used to be this Japanese Zen teacher, Suzuki Roshi. He founded the Zen Center in San Francisco. So a few American girls, high school students or college students, they went to him and they asked him, this is in the 1960s or 70s, apparently you teach a way to go high without drugs. Can you tell us that? And he taught them the 4 noble truths. And he taught them meditation. And each of them, those girls, they became big meditation teachers in their own right. But it is, what I'm saying is that these are all, you're trading one feeling with another. These are more refined feelings. And rule of thumb, you know you've overeaten if you're not able to engage the Mula Bandha. So that's what Patabi Joyce would say. If you eat a lot, it's difficult to engage the Mula Bandha. Then we saw the 5 prana vayus: prana, udana, vyana, samana, apana. Prana is the core for the asana practice. Asana practice is prana channeling. And we saw what prana is. Prana is the other, it's like a other side of the coin of Atma. So like a man and his shadow, the self, that's the Atma and the prana are inseparable. It enters the body at birth so that the desires of the mind from past lives may be fulfilled. Udana is what you use to do all these poses, the Sthitibhasana and all this. It comes with that when you shoot, I told you, the shooting the energy through the foot. Even when I held you, Upavishta Konasana, when you do that, you were there for a very short time, but if once you get used to the pose, you'll find your mind finds rest, this a sense of this effort and then this relaxation. The mind enters a very, very nice state. And it is not, sometimes you carry that with you throughout the day. It is not like eating a sweet or ice cream, which after you eat, it's nice when you're eating, but you have actually, oh, I want more of it, or something. You eat more and you get sick of it. So it, anyway. Then samana, which gives radiance. Some people, irrespective of the color of the skin, they are radiant. And apparently that comes from samana. And we saw nadis, Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. The entire goal of the Hatha Yoga is to send the prana through the Sushumna Nadi. And we saw how the unblocking the flow of prana feels. So this ama, when you remove it, it's like you're letting the prana flow. We saw about a white coated candle, is a typical example that is used. Ama is the junk that is accumulated in the body, the unmetabolized stuff, even the cholesterol, the plaque in the arteries, everything is considered ama. So the beautiful sutra from Patanjali, 4.3, is nimittam aprayojakam prakritinam varnabhedastu katakshetrikavate. Nimittam, all these instruments. So some people say, oh, I do this back bends 10 times so that one day I can do chakra bandhasana. It's a very intense back bend where you go and you grab your ankles. So that is like the pinnacle of back bends. That people say, okay, I'll do 100 of these back bends, but no, these are not useful. Prakritinam nimittam aprayojakam. How do you do this? Removing the obstacles to Prakriti. Here, Prakriti is prana, like building bunds. So it's all a prana business. Then we saw mudras. So I've been telling you, press your heel into the thigh, all that, right? That is to channel the energy. And even a bandha is called a mudra in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, to channel the energy. So Hatha Yoga Pradipika, as usual, Swatma Rama in his very flowery language, he says all the knots, the chakras, they're split open, sleeping Kundalini is awakened, royal road for prana. So when the mind is without objects, even death is strict apparently. So that's what Swatma Rama says. Therefore, practice mudras to awaken the sleeping goddess outside the door to Brahman. Then we look a little bit into the mind state. So this is where Seema asked me a question: what are the 4 parts of the mind? So in general, manas. So when in Indian language, mana is very heavy, and they'll point to the chest. So in general, it's distributed throughout the body. It is the memory. Your body holds a lot of memory and feelings. It's everywhere in the body. That's why when you do the asana practice, sometimes you find these nice sensations. You be remembered of something. A taste will come. You smell roses. All these are because of the memory stored in the body. In the buddhi, it's the intellect. It says, do this, this is right. This is very, very clear decisions. Ahankara is a sense of I. It's an ego, you can call it. Then chitta, Seema asked me what the chitta is. Chitta is the closest link to the consciousness. It's always on. The rest are not on when you're sleeping. Chitta is on. It is the movie theater. That's the example. It's with all the sounds. That's how constantly in our mind there is images, sounds, everything. And everything is quieting. Yoga's chitta with Nirodha, silver screen, the Atma sees its own reflection. And that is why we do all this to still the mind. So, Tadad Drashtuhu Swarupe Avastha. And in the 15th, so I have these different series of these workshops. The 15th, the final one. So the next one is Yoga Arudha, that's establishing in yoga, about the yogi and the destiny. Then Atma Jnana, about the Atma. Finally, Uttama Purusha. Purusha is Atma, Uttama Purusha, Paramatma. And so we slowly will go, it's all from the scriptures. So people ask, what happens when we die? What the Atma, does it does it go just like this, or does it take something from the body and go? Does it steal something from this body and go? So in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna very clearly says, Mamayivamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manas shashtani indriyani prakrutistani karshati. So my amsha, a form of mine in this jiva loka, in this loka, takes form as the different atmas. And What do I do? It pulls all the Manas mind as the sixth indriya. We know about the five senses, and he says the mind is the sixth sense. In the yogic culture, the mind is the sixth sense. Manas shashta indriya. Shashta is six. Shashta indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. So this body, the Ishvara pulls and holds everything together. What happens at death? Shariram yadavapnoti echapyu Utkramatishvaraha. So Utkramati means when it is departing this body, yet avapnoti, taking another body. When that happens, grihita, just grabbing, grihitvaitani sanyati, and it grabs and moves like how Vayur Gandha Iva Ashayat. It moves from one place to another like a wind taking the smell away. Like that, the it's Atma. It takes all these sense objects and it goes. So the entire complex it carries. Atma itself is pure, but because it's dragging this entire sense, all the samskaras come. Atma is the drashta apparently. It just sees. It is a sakshi. In Vedanta, they use the example of light. Light, if there is light, in the presence of light, surgeon does the surgery. In the presence of light, people commit robberies also. Third, light is just the sakshi, it just observes. But it is this complex which unfortunately is dragged by the Atma. That's why all the problems come. But anyway, I'm just giving the introduction. This we'll see in the next to next series. The next series is on the yogi. It is a pep talk by Krishna on the glories of a yogi and who a yogi is, stilling the mind, all that. That is the next series for those who want to join. So we saw the body's memories, the Garbha Pindasana. We saw that how touching the cheeks, it gives very nice relaxed feeling. The body is a playground in asana practice, as we saw. Okay, so in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, so this is just a precursor for the next series. So the way I've structured is, first, if I one of the reasons to do all this is when you think of a higher self and practice, then your asana practice is much deeper. If you're able to rest your mind on something, some of the subtle aspects or on something higher, your asana practice will find its deeper. That's why we are studying some of the scriptures. So once in this series, we've seen all this prana, everything, the basics, then we'll start looking at the yogi. So who is a yogi? How is his lifestyle? And what happens if a yogi, let's say, he's not able to do all this stuff in this lifetime due to some reason, health or whatever, he is not able to continue on the yogic path. What happens to that yogi? So Bhagavan Krishna explains all these things very well in the um, next, so in the 6th chapter. So that's why Patabi Joyce would say, once a yogi, always a yogi. You're swept in the path. You'll encounter temporary issues, but Patabi Joyce would say, finding yoga, whatever form it may be. Fasting is tapas. If you're able to fast, you're a great yogi. And any form of yoga, that's the greatest gift a human can do. And the end goal is liberation. So what happens to the yogi across lifetimes? Paramatmananda, he would say that yoga prashta, so one who has fallen from yoga, all the geniuses you see now, great musicians, childhood prodigies, it's all from the previous, whatever they're carrying from the previous time. They failed in the last lifetime, but they're carrying with it, and they will even strive even more to get perfection. So it says when Arjuna asks, Kachino Abravishta Yoga Chalita Chinna Brahmiva Nashyati. So Atpratishto Mahabaho Vimura Brahmana Patiti. He neither gets that he or she neither gets spiritual success or material success. Broken cloud. This is what happens. Then Bhagavan Krishna, he says, पार्थ न इव इह नामुत्र विनाशः सत्य विद्यते हि कल्याणकृत् कश्चित् दुर्गतिं तात गच्छति. Calls him Tata, my child. For one who's on the path of yoga, there is no destruction. It is always good. Durgatim, bad things do not, he doesn't come to grief, he or she doesn't come to grief. And the unsuccessful yogis, Prakya Punya Kritam Lokan, Mushitva Sashvati Sama, Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe. So they're either born in the home of the pure or the prosperous. If not, even better than this, it can be born in a poor home, but a home of wise yogis. Atava yoginameve kule bhavati dhimatam. Your wise people. Etat di durlabhataram bhoke janma yadi purusham. Etat di, this kind of mind, intellect, durlabhataram, very difficult to get. Okay, janma yadi purusham, in this world. And there he comes in touch with his previous lives. Tatratam buddhi samyogam labate paurvadehikam, previous bodies. Yatato cha tatato bhuyaha samsiddhau kurunandanaha. It strives some siddhi, great perfection. He yatata means effort, great effort to get perfection in this lifetime because of all these things from the previous life. So, and by virtue of the past practice, Purva Abhyasena Tenega, Purva Abhyasa, last life's practice, Kriyate Avashopi Saha, is helplessly, this person is attracted to some form of yoga, helplessly, Avashopi Saha, and Jijnasurapi Yoga Staha, Shabda hi Brahma hi Vartate. It seeks even the Shabda Brahma. That's how Krishna, it's like he just glorifies the yogi. He says, and with the right effort to many births, he attains the highest, he or she attains the highest goal. And we saw that tapasvidyo, the yogi is greater than great tapasvis, jnanis, great action people. Everybody, yogi is like a rock star of the spiritual world. Yeah, so that would be the next topic, the next workshop series. The format will be the same. We will do asanas. We'll probably do a few more advanced asanas. And for the theory portion, we will study chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita and other yogic texts. We'll bring in other texts. So I will stop the recording here, and I've been talking all the time. So